Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. My name is Jason. I'm the owner of Outdoor Legacy, and I've got my good buddy Hans here from the Hans East Texas YouTube channel. How are you tonight?
Good, man. I'll tell you, you are getting ready to make your annual pilgrimage to the beautiful mountains of New Mexico, and I'm pretty jealous about that.
I am. I'm ready too, because it's going to be nice and cool, and everybody back here in Texas is going to be burning up in this August heat, and so I'm excited about it. I'm ready.
I'm gonna try not to sink the ship while you're gone, or burn the house down, or whatever.
I'm very concerned. I'm not gonna lie, but we'll see how it goes. I'm still gonna be working. I can't just quit. But there's gonna be some times when I don't have phone service up there in those mountains, and I'm not gonna be too upset about it. So.
Well, the listeners will be glad to know that even though Jason's on vacation, we still have episodes to cover while he was gone, so we have not given him any time off. Actually, we made him work more before he's headed to go out of vacation, just to keep.
Yeah, and like I said, there's anybody that's self-employed knows this. There's no such thing as vacation. As long as there's cell phones or internet, it's still work. But it'll be good. You know, we changing the subject here. Hans and I just had a little funny thing happen trying to set up and get ready for this. So. I said, okay, we're going to, start recording at the same time. And I said, are you ready? And he said, yeah, count down. And I said, 1, 2, 3. And he goes, man, I didn't know if you were going to go 3, 2, 1. And we got to joking about it. It's the exact same thing you do in the field when you're hunting with other people. Mm-hmm. Everybody's lined up on their tripods, and the hogs or the coyotes there, and you do the countdown, and you don't know if the guy is starting on 3 or starting on 1, but you just hear 1, and everybody shoots, and it's a big mess.
It is.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing here on the podcast.
I'm terrible about doing it because we'll have 2 or 3 guys lined up, and I've got so many different things I'm thinking of before I take the shot, and I don't put a lot of thought into the countdown, obviously, but I always say, all right, we're going to shoot on 1, and then it'll get quiet, and then I'll go 1, 2, and I'm like, wait a second. I mean, hold on, 3, 2. So yeah, it is a comedy. It's like Bad News Bears sometimes when they're out there in the field.
Yeah, that's right.
But, hey, thank y'all for joining us this week. We're happy to be back with you for another week of the Late Night Vision Show. Please go follow us on all the socials. Go subscribe to us on YouTube. I mean, the page is growing like crazy. The videos that we're bringing you every week. Go check out our website, www.thelatenightvision.show.com, and obviously on Instagram and Facebook, you can find us there as well. But today we are talking about and comparing and contrasting the Axions, the Pulsar Axions, and the Pulsar Helions. Jason, there's a lot of questions that people call in or email us about. They want to know the differences. It's people that sometimes are just now getting into thermal hunting for the first time, or they've heard about the Axions, but they don't really know the difference between that and the Helions. There just seems like there's a lot of confusion sometimes with these monoculars because there's so many of them. That's
right, there is. And I tell you, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to be holding up some different, optics and showing you. If you're listening to the podcast, on one of the apps, no problem. You've probably seen an Axion and a Helion. If not, just jump over to outdoorlegacygear.com, and we've got all these things listed there, and you can take a quick look at them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the new Pulsar Axions here for just a second, and I'll let Hans do some introduction on the Helions, and in a minute I will be holding these up a little more so you can kind of see them if you're watching on YouTube. So the Axions are brand new for 2019. They were announced this year. They have begun shipping. We are in the month of August right now when we're recording this, again, 2019. So anything we say could be subject to change, pricing and models and that sort of thing as time goes on. I know these podcasts hang around out there forever. Sometimes people will listen and say, well, wait a minute, that's not right anymore. Well, something's
2 years
changed.
Ago.
That's exactly right. Technology changes, but right now we're going to tell you the way it is today. So there are 3 models of the Axion. There is a key XM30, there is a regular XM30, and a regular XM38. Now, if you're interested in any of these individual models, we do have a podcast review individually for all 3 of those models. So you can go back in the episode history and find those podcast there. We dig in on each one. But I just want to go over briefly, kind of give you a quick idea. The Key model does not have video recording or a smartphone app. It also has it's an LCOS, liquid crystal display. LCOS. It's like an LCD display. It is physically smaller, and inside the optic, when you look in, it's just a little bit smaller, and it is a lower resolution. That optic right now is running $1,899, $1,899. The next model is the XM30. The XM30 does have internal video recording as well as a smartphone app where you can stream straight to your smartphone or tablet and make adjustments and changes on the fly while you're using it there if you've got somebody sitting next to you or what have you. So that's the main difference there with the regular models versus the Key. That model, one thing I didn't even mention, I should have important, is that the Key model is a 2.5 power, a base magnification, and it does have digital zoom. They all do. The XM30 regular model is a 4 power, and then the XM38, it is a 5.5 power, and it too has the video recording and the smartphone app. Again, I'm gonna go over these prices because I've jumbled all this, but the Key is $18.99. The regular XM30 is $21.99. The XM38 is $25.99. Again, prices subject to change, but that is what they are now. One of the key advantages, in my opinion, I think anybody's opinion, of the Axion is just simply the size and the weight. They are tiny. They fit perfectly in the palm of your hand. The best way we can describe them is they are the size of a laser rangefinder, and that is not an exaggeration. They are tiny. They weigh around 11 ounces. Kind of depends on the model. I think, one maybe weigh a little bit less and maybe an ounce more, but about 11 ounces. They do have, all three models have a removable, rechargeable battery, and it is the Pulsar APS3 battery, and it lasts between 3 and 4 hours in normal conditions. The non-Key models, the regular models, do have a AMOLED display, an OLED high-resolution display. So of the three models, you are going to get a better image quality on the XM30 and the XM38 versus the Key, just because of the slightly larger, higher resolution, and better display. But I know I kind of jumbled all that stuff together, but that's the basic of those three models. And again, the claim to fame is size and weight, about 11 ounces and tiny.
Russell's about to get his second shout out on the show in a very short amount of time. But
man alive, I'm going to have to pay me royalties or something.
But we were talking about size. I've got one of these. If you're watching on YouTube, but Russell made these nice braided lanyards that connect to those Axions, and you can actually wear it around your neck. And it's that small where you can stick this thing around your neck, hold it up when you want to, let it hang back down. But these lanyards are pretty cool. But yeah, I was talking to somebody on the phone about the Axions, and they kept going on and on about the size and how it's similar to the same size as the laser rangefinder, and they wanted to know, is it really that small? And, with, my basic uniform when I go out in the field is camo cargo pants. And the nice thing, it slips right into my cargo pant pocket right there on the side. And that's the best thing about it is how small it is. But it actually is the size of one of those laser rangefinders that you could pick up anywhere. That's the best thing that we've seen and we've noticed about it.
It is, and hey, I just want to say something real quick. If somebody is interested in one of those lanyards there that you're showing, if they want one of those, send us a message. You can send it on Instagram or Facebook, or send an email if you want to, and we can get you that contact info for Russell. He's selling those things for about $25 a piece. They're very nice. They're custom handmade. They are really neat. Don't ask us in the comments because we're not going to give out his personal info just in the comments there, but we will if you want to send us a message. He can get you one of those made, and they are very, very nice.
Yep.
They're really cool.
So yeah, he's on Instagram. I don't know if he's on Facebook, but we'll get you that information. But as far as the Axions, we've used all of these a lot. Like Jason said, we did review on each one of these models, and we've sent Jason. You've sold a lot of these, and we've got nothing but great feedback from everybody how they love these Axion models. But definitely, the ones that you're going to get the best performance out of is going to be the regular XM30, the non-key model, and that XM38. But if you're ready, we can switch on over to Helion if you want to.
Yeah, what I want to do is, and that's what I want to do, folks. So we've given you the basics of them. Yep. And I know that's just like a mile-high quick overview, but again, we've gone into all the models on other shows. So I want Hans to kind of jump in and explain these Helion models, and then he can't butcher it any worse than I just did. But no, seriously. So I want him to do that. Then we'll come back because we'll do what everybody wants us to do, and that is, what do we like better and why and what's good for what? So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, the Helions. Now, I've got one right now in my hand. This is the XP38. And Jason, I dropped this in a bunch of sugar sand the other day, and I even dusted it off for the show. It had sand in every crack you could ever think of. And but I cleaned it up for the show. She's looking real pretty right now. But
I'm glad you would do that for us.
There were 6 of the Pulsar Helion models. 2 of them have been discontinued. That is the XP28 and the XQ28. So we're not going to be talking about those today. Those are discontinued. We're going to be talking about the 4 models that you can still find on the shelf. We're going to start off with the XQ38 and the XQ50. Those are in the 384 resolution class. The magnification on the XQ38 starts out on a 3.1. The magnification on the XQ50 starts out on a 4.1. Jumping up into the 640 resolution class, we've got the XP38, which is what I've got here right in my hand. The base magnification on that is 1.9, and the base magnification on the Pulsar XP50 is 2.5. The prices range on the Helion models anywhere from $29.99.97 up to $39.99.97. And these are one of the ones that have been around for quite a while, tried and true, tested out in the field. And, I'd say if we talked quickly about the advantage of the Axion with the size, I think the biggest advantage of the Helion is the picture quality that you get with this unit. It's definitely not the size of the Axion, but I think you're going to get an overall better image and picture with that Helion model.
Yeah, I think so. Size and weight is a big deal. Comparing those, I did say about 11 ounces on the Axion, and the Helions are going to be around 18 to 19 ounces. Yep. So it is significantly heavier. It is significantly larger. If you one of the things that I've found is if you don't have a good place to put the Helion when you get done using it, if you're sitting there and, oh, look, there's hogs, or, oh, there's a coyote coming up, you got to find somewhere to stuff that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't wear cargo pants much, so I don't have a big pocket to stick it in. So it's like I can't stick it in the pocket of my blue jeans. Well, and you need a place to put that thing because, again, a lanyard or something, but it's, at over a pound, it's pretty heavy around your neck.
Well, do what I do and just throw it on the ground before you take a shot. No, don't do that. Don't do that at all. Yeah. But hey, just real quick.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, battery life on these averages 6 to 8 hours depending on the conditions outside, whether it's cold or warm. And also all of the Helion models include the internal video recording as far as it's Wi-Fi capable. So those are standard features of all the Helion models.
Yeah, really, both these are great optics, but you've got to look at a price difference here. So on the Axions, we're talking about, sub $2,000 up to, around the $2,500 range, give or take a few bucks. We go up to the Helions, we're talking about $3,000 to $4,000. So it is a definite step up in price, but there is a step up in image quality. Mm-hmm. The other thing you'll notice is we're looking at 2.5 power on the key model, and then stepping up into 4 power, and 5.5 power on the other two Axions, where on these Helions, we're between 2.5 if you go to the XP units, 2.5 up to 4 power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the magnification is really a big deal. I've had a lot of guys who've said if they would make this Axion XM30 instead of 4 power, if they would have made it 2.5 or 3 power, it would be the perfect optic, and it probably would be. The 4 power is a lot for a lot of people. The 5.5 is a lot of magnification. That's really, in my opinion, that's going to be for coyote hunters or guys hunting in big farm country.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of people that before these came out, it's a shift that Pulsar has made with the Axion and the Thermions. Everything is a little bit higher magnifications now. There was some concern about the Axions being such high powered, but I've got buddies that have them. I've got buddies that have the XM38, the 5.5 magnification, and they love it. But
they do.
And they're
in East Texas.
Yeah, in East Texas, and they're they've got some fields that are pretty spread out, where it's several hundred yards from the front to the back of the property. And that 5.5 works very well for them. So, I think it does take some adjustment. Jason, you and I speak from a position of people that are fortunate enough to get to use a lot of different thermals and a lot of different monoculars and scopes. We have what we like. You and I tend to like the lower magnification stuff. But I think the people that are getting into it for the first time, that don't know and have never experienced anything with a lower magnification, they're coming in and they're like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. I don't care if it's 10 power, it's still a lot better than what I had before. And so I think that's what a lot of people are getting into. The Axion, and there's no doubt about it, because of the price point, has allowed a lot of people to get into thermal for the first time. They might not even be buying the Axion to use for night vision hunting. They might be using it for bird watching or
that's right. I've sold some for some the guys that say I do not own a gun.
I'm joking about the bird watching a little bit, but people that
I'm not
people that want to track deer with it. After if they're out deer hunting, they want to track deer. So it's more, and it's allowed more people to get into thermal. And that's been a huge advantage for this because of that price point.
Well, I think the first thing that I get when people that don't know much about them is they say, which should I buy, a Helion or an Axion? And, Hans and I talk about this a lot, but what's your budget?
Mm-hmm.
If you tell me that your budget is, $200 to $2,500, there's your answer. It's not a Helion because they're 3 to 4. And so if you don't want to spend that, then I'm not going to talk you into it. Don't, you need to buy an Axion. I think that the Axion is really good for a guy who is new to thermal, or he has just a standard resolution 320, 384, a standard resolution scope. A lot of times, a guy that has a high resolution, high end scope, $5,000-$6,000, he's going to pick up the Axion and he's going to be disappointed because he's used to looking through, super high resolution, beautiful image quality, and he's comparing, to this. Well, the problem is he's looking at an optic that probably cost a third of his rifle scope.
Right.
So you've got to, again, now I say that, and I've got guys that are using XP50s that have bought the Axion and like them. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to manage expectations. Don't buy it thinking it's going to match the quality of your $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 scope for, $2,000 or less. It's not going to do it. You're not going to get that crisp, clear image that you're going to get on a more expensive scope or one of the Helions. If you demand that kind of image quality, you need to go to a Helion. But real world, I think that we talked about each individual one, but 200 to 300 yards, depending on the model, you're going to be able to identify hogs and coyotes out there. And I've got guys that I know are doing it further than that with the Axions, but you're just not going to have that super sharp, crisp, clear image quality that you're going to have on a Helion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's when people are calling in, that's the main thing is finding out their budget, because you'll know exactly, and their expectations as far as what they want to get into.
Right.
But with the Helion, and I'm talking about that specifically because that's what I got in my hand. I know you had the Axion, but I love the Helion. To me, it's my favorite thermal monocular. I'm one of those ones that fortunate enough to use a good quality scope. So I like to, but at the same time, Jason, you and I are doing a lot of third-person recording in the background to use and share. So we want to have the best quality image that we can have. The XP38 that I have right here is a 640 resolution scope, but it is pretty cool when you go out with buddies and you can film from behind them while they're shooting at hogs or coyotes and having that vantage point. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with a monocular other than just spotting and finding animals. But I tend, and you tend, we both like to have that lower magnification based scope, especially for riding around. It does make it a lot easier. And I know I'm choppy here. I'm jumping all over the place, but I've got so many reasons why I like the Helion that I want to share with you, because I want to make sure that people get the right optic. Now, there's a lot of people, Jason, that call in and say, you know what, I've got $5,000 or $6,000 max. There's a lot of people that are telling me to get the most expensive scope I can get and get a cheaper thermal monocular, or they're telling me to get the cheapest thermal I can get and get a high-end monocular. For those people that are
or they're most likely what they're saying is spend all your money on the scope.
Spend all your money on the scope.
That's what most people want to do. Yeah. They don't want to break their budget up.
But for somebody that calls in and says, you know what, I'd like to get the best and nicest scope I can get, but I also at the same time I realize it's going to be hard to hold up this scope and rifle all night long. And for that situation, an Axion really fits into that budget very nicely, because you can still get a great scope and you can get an Axion, and you're right there, at around $5,000 to $6,000. So, yes, with that price point.
Absolutely. And so, I'm sure that people get tired of preaching that. Everybody's got a soapbox, and Hans and I preach it is get a handheld binocular if your budget allows it. And that does mean, if a guy calls me and he says he's got $5,000 or $6,000, he doesn't have a handheld, he has no intentions of getting one, saving up his money, getting it later, I'm going to really, ask him and see if he's considered breaking that up, getting a $3,500 scope and a $2,500 handheld, and I think they work great together. So definitely, you again, it just comes down to budget and your expectations. I had a guy who talked to the other day, and he said, "I like the nicer things." He said, "I'm willing to spend money." He said, "If that means I have to wait a year to get it," he goes, "I'm going to save up. I'm going to pay cash. I'm going to do it." He said, "But if I can get by with less, I'm going to do that too." He said, "I don't have a bunch of money, but I like to do it right the first time. I don't like to buy something, be disappointed." And he said, "So tell me, do I need an Axion or a Helion?" And so we talked it out for a while, and we talked about some of the different options and the rifle scope options. And before it was over, he said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm going to lower my budget on my scope, and he said, I can't do the Helion right now." He said, "But I can do it in maybe 6-8 months." Right. He said, maybe end of the year. He said, "So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy the scope now, go down a little bit from where I wanted, but I'm going to go ahead and get the Helion because I think it's going to be better image quality." Yeah. So again, but I'm going to tell you, and I know we are bouncing all over, but it's, gosh, the Axions are still good for what they are. We have sold a bunch of them, and everybody loves them. The only person that I've had that was disappointed was a good listener of the show. He's going to listen to this and know it's him, but he's a good friend of ours. He's got nice scopes. He's got XP50s. He runs high-end stuff, and he likes good quality. Right. And he called me about the Axion, and I said, "I don't know if it's going to be the image quality that you're used to and what you want." And he goes, "But man, I like the size. I like it. I really think that I want it." And I warned him because I know him. And that's the thing. He's bought enough stuff over the years from me. I said, "I'm just warning you." And he got it, and he used it a little bit, and he called me, and he had it a few days, and he goes, "I love the size and the weight." He said, "But I'm used to this XP50. And I said, "What you going to do?" And he said, "I'm going to buy a Helion XP50. Well, and I'm like, "Well, that's twice the money, but he made the jump. And he said, "I just, That's what I need.
Well,
I expect that kind of image quality.
like you said, if you're used to using 640 resolution in your scope and you're expecting to get something similar to that in an Axion, it's not going to happen. But as far as a basic spotting scope, there's a lot of people out there that see it and love it. You and I are big fans of it. So, hey, if y'all are interested in purchasing either the Pulsar Axion or the Pulsar Helion, you can hop over and find all of these optics on outdoorlegacygear.com. You can also call and talk to Jason if you're interested in purchasing one of these units. Give him a call at 877-350-1818. There's a couple other things I want to talk about before we end the show. First of all, Jason, I meant to do this at the beginning of the show, and I'm kind of kicking myself, but he's a good listener to the show. He listens all the time every week, so I know he's going to stick around towards the end of this show and listen. But I want to give a shout out to Nick in, of all places, Hamilton, New Zealand, who said he listens to every episode. He's a big fan of the show, and he said that we seem like a couple of good blokes. Now,
is that a compliment?
Well,
is that a good thing?
I met a guy, gosh, this has been many, many years ago. I met a guy from Australia, and he said, this is a couple decades ago, kind of showing my age, but he said, man, you seem like a good bloke. And I didn't know whether to thank him or punch him in the nose, but I think it means something pretty good. Because
I think it does.
So I guess thank you, Nick, in New Zealand, for watching all the episodes, listening to all the episodes, and I think that we are a couple good blokes, but it just depends on who you ask, I guess. But
yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go look that up. No, I think that's a compliment.
Yeah.
I do want to say something, and we'll probably touch on this on another show sometime. Talk about some of the restrictions and things, because I've got some ideas for a show. But I just want to say this in case you are listening and you're from outside of the U.S. We can give you all the advice on this show, but we cannot sell you night vision or thermal. And every week we get more and more emails and messages on Facebook and Instagram with guys, a lot of guys from New Zealand, Australia, even the UK and other places in Europe, and say, hey, I've been listening to y'all. I want to buy this. Can I get it? We cannot, and we can't help you in any way. It is against the law. Nothing we can do there. So we love you. We love to have you as part of the this community, listening. We hope you learn from it and enjoy it. We're glad to have you in part of the hunting community, but we can't sell you anything. And I know a lot of guys will call and say, hey, can you tell me about these scopes? To be honest, it's very difficult for us to even do that, because we don't even know what all is available there. We have some things that are available here that you don't have. You probably have some things that we don't. So it's really difficult. We're glad to have you listening to the show, but unfortunately, the United States government does not want us to sell you anything. Well, so we can get into that later on and some of those restrictions, but I just want to throw that out because we've got a lot of people, it seems like, from around the world listening.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, for listening. We do have a lot of people around the world. We get emails and contact from people all the time. So thank y'all for listening. Another thing I want to mention, and Jason, you and I didn't talk about this before the show, but I feel like we kind of need to touch on it a little bit. Recently, we had an episode where we talk about shootings that have happened. The one that we talked about specifically was in Gilroy, California. A young man opened fired on a festival there and killed 3 individuals. And it's come back up in the news here recently again. We've had a couple more
again and again.
Yeah, recently we had a couple more shootings. These were 13 hours apart. One in El Paso, where 22 people were confirmed killed, and then the next day there were 9 confirmed kills in Dayton, Ohio, and recently,
wasn't there another one in Chicago? Or I saw something about 7 shot or something on the playground or something.
I think that's pretty much every
Chicago,
weekend.
yeah.
But something that you and I we've kind of touched on politics here in the past, and as current events come up like this, we'll definitely mention it. But Donald Trump, President Trump, gave a press conference recently that I listened to, where he did mention that he was up to some bipartisan measures when it comes to some of the laws, background checks, some different things. He specifically mentioned that he was open to some red flag laws and, some other things that they could get passed in a bipartisan way. A lot of times there's a lot of talk after these type of shootings. There's usually not a lot of action because I think there's a lot of, once the dust settles and we start thinking about all of this and the causes of this. But there was a lot of feedback, Jason, from the show that we did about the Gilroy, California shooting, where a lot of people agreed with you specifically on your reasons why they, feel like these are happening more and more. And, it really is being shed to light more and more often. And it seems like we're talking about it all the time, way too much.
Yeah, I agree. And gun laws aren't going to solve the problem. I mean, that's just, it's not going to do it. I mean, drugs are illegal, and drugs have been illegal for decades. And, any town over probably 20, 30,000 people in the United States, you can probably drive around that town, whether you've ever been there or not, in about 15 minutes, you can probably find a place to buy drugs. So we know good and well that gun laws are not going to change, human hearts. So, gun laws it's just going to restrict our freedom. So I'm very concerned about that. And I would say this, that, I don't like to be Mr. Doom and Gloom, but I just think it's a matter of time. I mean, whether Republicans eventually cave to some sort of, gun restrictions, even if they don't, just a matter of time until they're out of office and we've got somebody new sitting in the White House, even if it's not the next election. And I'm very concerned about what will happen then. And, I don't know.
Well,
and, it's to be honest, another thing, and this is kind of airing our own dirty laundry, but the NRA seems to be falling apart.
Yeah.
They got all kinds of problems going on there, and that's not what we need at this time. And so that's kind of a bad deal. I've not given up on the NRA.
Well,
okay, they're too big for me just to dump them. I do think there's problems, but I hope they get all that worked out, and that's just politics inside there, and we probably need a good cleaning house and start over there.
All of this, there's never these shootings are awful, and at any time of the year or any year that they happen, but these shootings are happening at a very difficult time for everybody because we're going into an election year, and it is going to be any crisis that pops up is going to be used to the advantage of whatever political party can use it for their advantage. And these shootings play into a scenario and a talk track of people that are trying to be elected right now. So it's going to be brought up. It's going to be brought up quickly. And conversely, on the other side, the Republican side, since this again is election year, there's going to be people that will try to get some action done on some type of gun laws to show that they are trying to do something. And I think Donald Trump is saying there's some things that concern me. The red flag law is very concerning. There's that thing concerns me just about more than anything. But one of the gentlemen that was did one of these shootings was using a drum magazine. And just like when the Las Vegas shooting happened and bump stocks were all over the news and those were quickly made illegal, I think we could see something happen very soon on these drum magazines as well, because it seems like that's what they're trying to do it step by step. And whatever crisis pops up and whatever's used, they feel like they can quickly get that made illegal. And so far, it's kind of been working. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's kind of a wait and see, and let's wait for the dust to settle.
Because they use the same old. But why does anybody need one of those?
Yeah. And
why does anybody need one of those?
Yeah.
Well, come hunting with me.
Well, and that's the argument that's used in. To a lot of people that are in politics, that may make sense. Why does somebody need a drum magazine? But that's just one step. Eventually, it'll get down to why do you need a single shot rifle, or why do you need a single shot shotgun? Why do you need guns at all? And it's just a step by step process where we know what the end goal is. There's one side that wants to completely get rid of guns and ban all of them. They have not been shy about it. That is the end goal, and they realize the only way they can do that is with small bites. So we're going to continue to talk about this as it comes up. Golly, just so terrible what happened in El Paso and also in Dayton, Ohio. Just horrific scenes that we've seen on the news. Nobody likes to see anything like this. And, we know that one of the suspects in the El Paso shooting was taken and arrested unharmed. He will be prosecuted and hope that justice is swift and firm. But I hope that we do not have to talk about this anymore on any of these shows. We love these shows to be lighthearted and fun, but we also want to share news and current events that are relative to the hunting industry and guns. We're all 2A supporters, and all of this kind of stuff affects everybody involved.
That's exactly right, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but I can say with very extreme certainty on my part, I'm willing to be a gambling man, and I think it's going to be a very different landscape when our children are our age. Mm-hmm. So 30 years from now, say, I think it's going to be very different. And I don't know, but we're going to have a big, long fight ahead of us. And I hope it's a fight. I hope it's not just a massacre. No pun intended. I don't mean that disrespect, but I hope it's not just us getting, overrun and our Second Amendment rights, taken away. But I think there's going to be a lot of inroads into those rights being removed piece by piece.
Talking about 20 or 30 years from now, I already told you what you're going to be doing 20 and 30 years from now. You're going to be up at some old gas station in Appleby, Texas, an abandoned gas station. You're going to be there at 5:30 in the morning drinking coffee with the other old men watching the cars go by. I've already told you that. You'll be doing that until the sun goes down every day, all day, every day.
I won't be there at 5:30 in the morning. I can tell you that's not going to happen. I may roll in about 8, but I'm not going to be there at 5:30. But other than that,
Jason will be that old man up at the gas station drinking coffee, watching the cars go by. We've got a few of those in our town. We love them. But I swear you can go by there. I've gone by there early in the morning, and I've gone by there at 11 o'clock at night. Them old men are sitting outside of that gas station in their recliners outside on the corner watching cars go by. It is the dangest thing I've ever seen, but it's hilarious.
That's awesome. Well, folks, we appreciate y'all coming in and putting up with us every week, and we hope that it's enjoyable. And again, we don't like having to bring up some of these more serious and sober topics, but unfortunately, with what's going on right now, I don't think we have much of a choice but just to talk about it. We don't have all the answers, but it's a conversation's got to be had, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that you need to make your mind up of where you're at. You need to think about it. You need to decide, what you're willing to compromise, or if you're willing to compromise, nothing, and stand firm in your convictions, whatever they are. Now, my opinion is that I can disagree with someone politically, but the one thing that I at least can respect is if you can articulate your position, you can give some kind of a common sense reason why, and you stand firm in it. And, but wishy-washy, and you don't even know what you believe or why you believe it, and it makes no sense whatsoever. I don't have any respect for that. So, I think we all are going to have to do it because, these things are going to be coming at us soon. So decide what you believe and stand firm in it. And let's all get together and, hopefully fight for the Second Amendment. So, folks, again, thanks for tuning in. We will be back next week, good Lord willing. The creek don't rise. Thanks for tuning in to the Late Night Vision Show, and we will catch y'all on the flip side.